Hello and welcome to the live In-Plant Graphics webinar, How Web-to-Print and Workflow Automation Can Secure Your Future, sponsored by Rochester Software Associates. I'm Bob Neubauer, editor of In-Plant Graphics and the host of today's event, speaking to you from red-hot Philadelphia where it's 96 and humid today. And if you know me, you know how much I love that. Before we get started, let me point out a few quick tips on how to make the most of today's webinar. First, if you have any technical difficulties, troubleshoot by clicking on the Help widget at the bottom of the console, marked with a question mark, and let us know via the Q&A box. You can also use the Q&A box to submit your questions. We'll address them at the end of the hour. Turn off pop-up blockers so you can better utilize this console. Click on the Tips for Attendees widget below to learn all about the features of this console. Now with us today are two In-Plant managers, Steve Diamond, manager of MIT Copytech with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and on the other side of the country, Steve Nellis, manager of GSA Business Solutions with the County of Ventura, California, and that's me on the bottom. So now let's jump right in. The advantages to adding web-to-print are many. By increasing automation, you reduce costs, improve customer service, free up staff for more important tasks, add volume without adding staff, and much more. Yet, according to an In-Plant survey we did last year, just 56% have web-to-print, leaving 44% of In-Plants without it. In preparation for this webinar, I asked several In-Plants in that 44% why they don't have web-to-print and if they're looking into it. Hands down, the main hurdle for the In-Plants without web-to-print is cost. One remarked, if the university is willing to invest money in our shop, I want it to be in a digital printer and a computer-to-plate system. I only want to ask for what we really, really need. I'm sure that hits home for a lot of you. Another manager noted that they're seeing increased demand for color printing, so upgrading their color device is far more important to their immediate success. Well, cost justification of web-to-print is a challenge, no doubt, but there are tools to help you figure that out. RSA has an ROI calculator available, for example, and those who have implemented web-to-print can tell you that the time savings they've realized, plus the additional work they can now handle and the ability to reassign staff to different tasks, has paid the investment back. Another manager noted that the In-Plant has a very personal relationship with customers, and online ordering would eliminate this. And it's true that one of the best values an In-Plant provides is knowing customers intimately and anticipating their needs. But just imagine a bank trying to compete these days without an ATM based only on its friendly tellers. Time is your customer's most precious asset. Web-to-print can save them time and make you look good. I also heard the argument that customers like using email, Dropboxes, and inter-office mail. They're comfortable with this. And I'm sure everyone who's implemented a web-to-print system would agree that getting customers to change and learn how to send jobs in a new way was not easy. But those who have done it, like our two speakers today, would also agree it was well worth it. Work flows in much more smoothly now with more automation. Some In-Plants told me that they're looking for the least expensive way to get into web-to-print, namely by having their IT department create a system. Now, this can work well, but only if you have a dedicated IT department that can create a system focused on your In-Plant's needs and then maintain it and update it over time. At the IPMA conference, for those who were there, we learned about BYU's homemade web submission portal with templates for customers' documents built into the system, and their documents are stored in the In-Plant's library. And this is working great for BYU, and it keeps customers loyal to the In-Plant. But not every In-Plant has the luxury of such a dedicated IT staff. In fact, many of those In-Plants that created online ordering systems themselves 5-10 years ago regret it now. The IT staff that created the system is gone, and no one knows how to update it now. In our July issue, which I just received yesterday, we've got a story on web-to-print, and it includes this bar chart, so I threw it in here to show you what challenges In-Plants have faced when implementing. And you can see staff training is at the top of the list there. Designing templates is one of the things that takes a lot of time. And then integration with other softwares and customer adoption are also big ones. You can look for this article in the upcoming issue. Some of the common mistakes printers have made when implementing web-to-print include not having an online strategy before you begin. That means defining your business objectives, the results you expect, which printed products you want to be able to order with the system. Another mistake, not assigning someone on staff to take ownership of this project. You need that person, and it can't be someone already overloaded with other responsibilities. Other mistakes, not getting customers involved in advance. You need their input. Not allocating time and resources for implementation. Not having a marketing plan to get the word out once you go live. So enough of me talking. I want to bring in two implant managers who have actual experience with web-to-print and automation so we can hear how it has turned their implants around. The first speaker, Steve Diamond, I've known for many years through the Association of College and University Printers, where he now serves as treasurer. Steve came to MIT in 1969 and joined the Quick Copy Centers of the MIT Graphic Arts Department. In 1981, he became supervisor. In 96, MIT closed its graphic arts department, so Steve led the effort to save the Quick Copy Centers and turn them into a self-funded cost recovery operation. He was appointed manager and today oversees 21 employees in 3 campus locations with an annual operating budget of $3.25 million. Today, Steve will tell us how his implants web-to-print system has enabled dramatic increases in digital color job submissions and boosted the implant's customer base by 10%. Steve?
Thank you, Bob. I want to first thank Bob for moderating the session and RSA's support in putting this together. My story today focuses on this particular subject, among a number of things that have been transforming our operation in the past few years. I'll focus on the crisis that occurred for us and for our campus in 2011. MIT was in a financial crisis at that time. It affected all aspects of the college and in particular its service departments. There was a great effort to restrict printing. There were sustainability efforts. There were budget restrictions, all of which put the fear of death into an operation like ours. Our operation is strictly digital and had a robust black and white service, a growing color, but we were kind of frozen there during that financial crisis period where we could not invest in any capital equipment on new processes. So we kind of waited it out. We went through in-depth reviews of our services. The rest of the campus went through a lot of challenges, and we finally reached the other end of that particularly cloudy period, and we were given the green light to expand. We were told that we were, in fact, a relevant part of the teaching mission here at MIT, and we were all thrilled to hear that. With that green light, we decided that we would take advantage of our new enthusiasm to reinvent our services, to kind of redo our brand, our logo, our message, and with that, we sought to significantly increase the one area that seemed to hold the most promise for us moving forward, and that was in color print production. So we sought a partnership solution from our vendors, and the main parts of that solution were to expand our customer base, that we wanted to be able to offer a significantly higher quality of color print output. We wanted the process of submitting it to us to better match the investment in new hardware, as well as the overall image of MIT. We wanted it to be a state-of-the-art process from beginning to end. We sought enhancements in that color quality output, in the web submission process and the subsequent order management, as well as we wanted the entire experience that our customers went through from beginning to end to be a much improved process for them. We went through an in-depth RFP, entertained a number of different proposals, And the one that we chose was one that was offered in a partnership with Konica Minolta Business Solutions and RSA. The Konica Minolta end of it involved the acquisition of the newly introduced C8000 color production printer. At that same time, we purchased, along with it, a Konica Minolta 6501 production color printer. We also invested in the RSA WebCRD, web submission software, as well as we chose to host the server for that solution on site here at MIT. We had the choice of it being hosted by RSA or by ourselves, and we felt that if MIT couldn't host the server, who could? So along with those solutions was a very aggressive and extensive implementation and training program by both companies, both in the training and the implementation of the WebCRD software. It was probably the centerpiece of what we hope to transform our overall image with when it came to engaging our customers with these new, very cool and very high-tech color output devices. The centerpiece was the engagement with the customers. We had learned from our customers both in the past as well as in anticipation of this new service what some of their requirements were. We had previously a very simple and homegrown, custom-written process for submitting jobs to our services here. It didn't have any bells and whistles. It simply allowed you to submit an electronic file and for us to receive it from you. It had very little other than that, but it certainly beat people sending it to us in the email, which was what we were dealing with before. The community asked for something that would be simple and easy to sign on. They really wanted something where they could see some of the online documents and what it would look like. The auto PDF creation was something that people requested because they were constantly dealing with the need to create PDFs from native application files, which were often a nightmare for my staff to deal with. They also wanted to be able to get an idea what the particular order was going to cost. And the ability to simply get online and be able to reorder something they have ordered in the past or something that they order quite often was something that was very attractive to them as well. And none of these things were available in our custom written homegrown process that was in place before this. From our side, the production side, we also had some things that we wanted to ensure the staff here and the people that would be handling this work would be able to enjoy. And some of those things were a job management system that was enterprise-wide. It was across MIT's campus. It was one single face for getting jobs to us and for managing those jobs throughout the production process. It was important that it be that singular submission process, and the workflow would be something that they could manage from one location or from any location that we have here at MIT. They wanted to be able to track the jobs through the process. Any of our staff can see easily and clearly where those jobs are in the production process from submission time to delivery out the door time. And these were critical for us to be able to manage across different locations. It was also critical that the authentication process be something that easily integrated into MIT life, which as a service department can often be a challenge. So that was critical for us in looking at different offers out there. And also it had to be upgradable. We didn't want to invest our time and our newfound monies in anything that would really kind of close the door on us a few years down the road and force us to simply go out and get something entirely new from what we had. So in choosing that, the impact of the implementation of RSA's WebCRD and the color hardware aspect from Konica Minolta had a great impact on us in this new situation that we found ourselves in. It enhanced our relevance to MIT's educational mission. We were considered an even more important partner in the Institute as we took on work and the quality of work and the type of jobs that at this time we were not handling due to the restrictions of the equipment in the process that we were using before this. One of the key aspects that we received from this was we were able to reintroduce ourselves to the MIT campus community through the education and the training process of getting everybody on board with not only the new color equipment, but this new way of getting electronic files to us. This was a great opportunity for us to market our services as we trained the MIT community on how to use WebCRD as well as the output of color work from the Konica Minolta equipment. This can't be overstated. This was like free advertising, free marketing, and we used it in every way possible to not only reintroduce ourselves, but to get new people acquainted with the process of using our services. As most people who do work in college atmospheres know, there is a great deal of turnover from year to year, and it's often difficult to, in our budgets, to assign a great deal of marketing dollars to continually re-educate the community as to who we are and what we offer. And this was something that all of our staff got involved in, and we were able to hold training sessions. We were able to go to our key customers, into their offices, show them what it is that we were planning to do and how to get it done. And this kind of cemented many of those relationships and really started off a great opportunity to develop further relationships with the customers who were either unfamiliar with what we do or just simply weren't using us before this. And the impact of the customer process is really something that we sought a great deal in this solution. We wanted their entire process from submitting the job to the production of the job, the delivery of the work back to them, and the documentation of that job. We wanted that not to be something that they dreaded or they wanted something more from. We wanted it to be an entirely positive engagement process from beginning to end, and it certainly has done that for our dealings with our MIT community. We also wanted it to have flexibility of being able to introduce new features and new services as they came along down the road. The one thing we have realized in the past few years is that what we do and how we do it continually changes in much faster time frames than I ever remember in this particular business that we find ourselves in. As we look at some of the results, 85% of all orders arrive through our centers through WebCRD. Now, we were pretty good at 70% before that, but it's significant to note that we've gotten up to 85%, and we fully expect that that number will continue to grow. It increased our workflow efficiency by 10%, and this really has to do more with the fact that we don't spend as much time with problem solving. It's not an idea that we don't engage personally or by phone or in person with our customer base anymore. It means that we no longer deal with those nagging issues of native application files or files that haven't been set up properly, or the back and forth questions that we would have to go through to simply get the work order to us. The ability to do that for the customers to give us a job that's ready to go, that's print ready, to get it into our production process is such a night and day improvement that it's just one of the biggest highlights of the entire software process. The auto PDF creation, as I mentioned, alleviated a lot of that hand-holding that we would have to do previously when we were dealing with customers in person and by phone. And the online proofing allowed our customers to see what the document would look like rather than go through the process of mailing them something, sending them an email copy of it or them having to visit the office to see what the proofs look like. There is still some of that goes on, but this greatly alleviated that. At MIT, we have over 2,100 customer accounts that have been created. That changes every day as more customers log on, as more customers create accounts. The result of all of this has been a significant increase in our customer base. We have a different level of customer using our services now, not only because the engagement process is so much more positive, but also because the quality of the work that we're doing is at a different level than anything we were capable of doing before. The Konica Minolta equipment, the RSA WebCRD submission process, as well as the recent acquisition of some intricate and much-needed finishing processes have allowed us to compete now with some of our biggest competitors that are on the outside in jobs that we previously we just weren't able to touch. This can't be overstated enough. This leveling of the playing field is one of the best results of the entire investment that we've made in software and hardware. The increase in revenue is significant in the sense that in that financial crisis period in 2011, we lost revenue. The restrictions on black and white printing, the technical advances of the course readers process that used to be the cornerstone of our department has impacted our black and white copying in a significant and revenue reduction way. Through these solutions that were offered by Konica Minolta and by RSA, we've been able to bring that revenue level back by this increase through the color production process that we've been able to enjoy. And it has allowed us to remain competitive as well as relevant to the MIT community. These two numbers in the increase in revenue and the customer base are probably the most significant impact numbers that we look at here at MIT. Just to talk a little bit about some of the feedback from the customers, their sense is that it is a simple and easy to use process. There is a registration process the first time, and that means that they do have to input some information, but once that information is in, each time they log on is a very simple process for them to do. They are able to reorder documents quite easily, which is a key feature that we talk about all the time with our customers. They love the fact that there's notifications from the time the job is submitted to the time it's delivered. It is important to them that there is a secure login process and an authentication procedure that has been integrated into MIT. And it's also easy to find the submission process on a newly designed and recently unveiled website. It's a key component of that. From our end, the production end, we had some feedback from my staff as well. They're thrilled with the one system for all submissions. They are ecstatic over the ability to manage documents from any locations, particularly if there's an issue with a job order that has been in the process at one of our remote locations. They can manage it from wherever they are. The auto PDF and online proofing has made their life so much easier. It has reduced the amount of time that they have to really significantly deal with our customers. And the process of knowing where those orders are has made it that much easier on them. The secure customer and work order database are things that will prove to be important for us down the road. So as I wrap up, the outcome of this partnership has been one that has significantly changed us here. It's been positive. It's been a fantastic outcome from both production end and from customer end, and we look forward to what the years ahead will do with this, with these solutions. And I thank everybody for listening to my story today.
Great, Steve. Yeah, it sounds like an excellent solution there, and I like some of your points there, especially that you talked to the community and got their requirements ahead of time. And a nice note that by educating people about the system, you were also promoting your implant. So that's some great benefits from that. So I wanted to remind everyone that there is a Q&A box that you can submit questions at any time for our speakers, and we'll address those after Steve Nellis, the next speaker. So yeah, don't be afraid. Go ahead and send some of your questions. So now we go clear across the country to sunny Ventura, California, where Steve Nellis is no doubt lying on the beach right now with a laptop, right, Steve?
Yeah, it's a virtual laptop.
That's just what the rest of us think it's like in California. I'm sure Steve's in his office like the rest of us. I just met Steve at the Implant Printing and Mailing Association conference in June. He's the manager of document services for the County of Ventura, California, supporting 9,000 employees and a diverse collection of agencies, including healthcare, public safety, and IT services. The operation provides services and products across print, mail, creation, capture, and business process management. Steve's been evolving his implant from a traditional one based on large print volume to one focused on business process and document management services to deliver content across both physical and electronic channels, such as e-forms. Steve manages a staff of 10, producing 20 million impressions annually with a $2 million budget. Last month, they processed 452 web-to-print orders. Now, Steve will tell us how automation solutions have opened up more time for his staff to help customers with projects, saving thousands of dollars for the county. So, Steve?
Well, thanks for that introduction, Bob. You make me sound good, so I like that. And before I begin, Steve, 2,100 accounts created. That's certainly a number that caught my attention. You know, I don't think there's any implant manager out there that wouldn't be interested in that real estate. So if to all those implant managers out there on the line, thanks for tuning in. I know how busy it can be. I mean, heck, I hardly made this process, so thanks for your time. So at the County of Ventura, we really try to talk about the customer experience. In the beginning of this webinar, Bob, you talked about the college printer who wanted to take his capital and put it into a digital press. That was fascinating to me because in my market, I take the exact opposite tact, for better or for worse. But for me, it's worked. So before we talk about operations, printers, the shop or the software, we recognize that the customers are consumers and we cater to this experience. It's a commercial world, and we all expect services and interfaces that are easy to use. We live in this consumer world, so when you go to work, that expectation doesn't change, and that is no different for an implant. So in our experience at the county, my customers have a very low visibility on their document costs, and they tend to understate their internal inefficiencies. They focus on price instead of time. They do not evaluate and look at the time staff spends on finding and distributing documents. So in my view, the web-to-print tool is a key leverage point to improve static productivity. Yes, you can through print on demand, you can eliminate warehousing, reduce MFP costs, print leakage, but primarily you can really report process improvement and document flow and to reduce soft labor. So you shift from a cost center from solely being viewed on price to providing solutions. So this real estate, this web URL really gives you the ability to expand and diversify your revenue stream as well. So today, with Web2Print, there's a brief story on a print product that I like to call Packets, and it's a pillar for me. So across the implant community, print still pays the bill. It pays the bills, it provides the labor. And volumes may be flat, but within this market, there's growing niche areas, and it's declining in others. So if I had a quick tip to pass along to the implant community is take a look at Packets. It's a source of increasing revenue growth for us within the print stream. And by using the web workflow automation software, Web2Print tool, or a print server output manager, you can really centralize and automate your printing and make it easier for both your implant staff and, more importantly, your customers. This is going to help keep your costs low. And this revenue through packet production has stabilized our print volumes and enable us to expand in different areas. So take a look at Packets, and packet examples are everywhere. This photo on the right, you have some loose leaf flyers and handouts that before we looked at this, we didn't produce. So in this example, it's a hospital intake packet. It's you show up to the hospital and you get just the weeds of documents. And if you survey packets or survey documents, they don't exist in isolation. So see how one piece of information or one form flows into another, and try to consolidate and group those as a packet, as something that an end user can find and order easily. So in our example here, the challenge was design a booklet to include all information that a patient or a family would need during admission and stay. So as a document provider, this is exciting because we get to recreate a document. We can create it, manage it, distribute it, and archive all those documents. And each touch point there is a revenue opportunity. So in this before and after example, we take these weeds of documents and we turn it into a booklet. So before we get too ahead of ourselves and talk about Web2Print and software, we never forget there's still that role of creation. So we've turned these individual flyers into chapters and then some. It's clear, it's easy to read. You have to give your customers a reason to shop with you and a reason to get into the Web2Print universe. So don't lose sight of the product itself. Okay, so give your customers a reason to order. This next slide, and I realize I got a little loose with my slide control, so bear with me on that, is it's about time. And with a Web2Print tool, you can track time. So this slide, looking left to right, follows a group of forms or a packet of forms moving from staff person and down the stream. So you've got a manager initiating process. It's being reviewed by HR, routing to fiscal, and going to a final endpoint. So my proposition is, with a Web2Print tool, you can track time. and most of your customers do not know how long they spend working on documents. If you study time, this will improve your stature, improve your value. People will pay for time. Time is money, right? So we've had a lot of success with documenting a current state versus a future state. How long does it find to distribute forms? In this example, this HR example, you have an 18-day turn with a standard deviation of 18 days. So there's a wide variance of how long this process takes. And what that does is it creates frustration. You impact quality. It's painful to the staff. It's confusing. And frankly, it creates a lot of stress. So here comes the implant, who's traditionally viewed as print, and now you can streamline that process and make it easy. Now, that's not a traditional implant measurement, but it's a value way beyond price. I mean, imagine going to a restaurant and you order French fries, and one time it takes you 1 minute, and other times it takes you 2 days. That inconsistency is very damaging to an enterprise. So for an implant, to streamline that, to improve that user experience is very key. And I find that it's not just output, it's process improvement. I don't know of any organization that isn't interested in quality. So if you can document the service return, that really improves the strategic advantage of your shop. Okay, so let's get back to the user experience and say, okay, so remember, I've created this kit, I've consolidated these loose documents, and I've created a packet. Well, the beauty now is we can pull them to a URL. We can bring them to a web page where they can search for documents, and an organization of my size has thousands of documents. And this is a tight screen capture, but you can put in a form number, find it within seconds, and a click or two away, you can order it. That's a great improvement and beats emails and phone calls any day of the week. Next, this is an example of a packet production where we've consolidated these documents, and within that web-based content management system, a customer can preview their document to make sure they're ordering the right thing. So that content is consolidated and managed all in one point. And as a value add beyond output, we manage the version control, we take care of the naming conventions, we do all the design, and all of these individual forms and packets, we are now the librarians and keepers of those documents, which is a great value to an implant because that design component gives you so much better control of the revenue and of service. So once this document is selected and found through a web interface, you're taken to your web-to-print interface. And here's where the implant managers will see some tremendous value. So this is, and by the way, these screenshots, the webinar is not the best experience to see. It's easier to show and tell, right? So if you get a chance to see a live demo of how this works, I really encourage you to do that. If you squint on the bottom of this slide, you'll see a series of tabs across the bottom. So you've got print, binding, folding, covers, tabs, etc. So what's neat is you have a document that's online, right? But embedded within there, the index information linked to that document is now married together. So all of the Plex information, the binding information is all taken care of, and the user for these catalog items, for these shared items, they do not have to set those print properties. They're already embedded in the document. So we go from a web server straight to the print server, right? And this is very extremely powerful. If you're like me, sometimes you see some bottlenecks on hold queues and servers. We know the source of these documents. They're pre-approved. Customer logs online, a few clicks, they place their order, and directly that document through autoflow rules can go right to a release queue. We know it's a duplex document. We know the paper stock. As long as the printer has that resource, bam, you're good to go. So imagine having an open house and you're demonstrating this automation, you're demonstrating this portal. Well, when we do an open house, we can quickly teach a customer how to find a common used document, order it, and then right before they get out of their chair, that documents coming right out the printer. You got hot paper, sitting in their hands. It's literally that fast. It can, if the queue's clear, it just goes right to the packaging and station. So that's an amazing interface. Okay. Next, give your customers some credit. You've saved them a tremendous amount of time, and you've redesigned this document. You've got some data. So you create a standard template. Give them an ROI snapshot. In our template, we track both soft value time of process improvement and then also some hard copy savings. So by knowing the current state versus the future state, we can calculate some hour savings and also some hard copy savings. This example here excuse me, is very modest. If you combine postage and warehousing return, it can be exponential. We tied together a packet example for our Medi-Cal process, which was high volume, and across our human services agency, we saved them over 2,000 hours of caseworker time. Now that translated over to $100,000 annually. That's an ROI that easily justifies any cost of a web-to-print solution. So work hard and one enterprise packet can most likely pay for a web-to-print tool. And as you do ROIs, they get easier to do. Then they're hard to set up at first. But once you have a nice template, they're easier to go. And in this slide, just a quick note, is you beyond the portal, now you're advising customers as well. And in our packet examples, we're able to, for example, fold over our documents into a 6x9 letter as opposed to mailing out in a flat. And that's a huge savings of 53 cents multiplied by your quantity, a very hard dollar saving as opposed to just soft labor savings. Now, what does that have to do with web-to-print? Well, it's part of the pillar. And the cool thing about packets is they can touch upon each of those pillars of web-to-print, print-to-mail, variable data, and design. And it's likely that if you survey your packets, it'll give you opportunities across all of the print pillars that are still sustaining print volume. So results across the county for us have kept us relevant and kept us strong. So we know that print streams continue to evolve. There's short-run value and enterprise content management systems, health record programs. There's all these technological forces that are reducing print. So wherever print is maintained, it has to promote value. So print-to-mail and packets are close relatives. And in my view, at least for county government, there really are the last of the high-volume print jobs. And that revenue that comes in has enabled us to invest in staff, invest in services and software to enable us to expand in other services. So similar to Steve's story at MIT, we've been able to really expand across our desktop universe and have people used to this desktop habit. That real estate is vital because it allows you to move into document management services, e-form services, and other services to diversify your print streams. And within the shop itself, our revenue per employee is in the top tier of any IPMA survey. We just have tremendous efficiency within our shop. So as a taxpayer-funded service, we always need to represent our value, to represent our return, and we're able to counter that with nice, solid statistics and data-driven decisions to help position us as a strategic force within the county. So we're not viewed solely as a cost center. We're recognized as a business process management company, a service bureau. We're recognized for efficiency, and that's the space we want to be in. So it's clear from my experience that a core part of the customer experience and to sustain print has to go through a web-to-print tool. It enables quick ordering and turnaround. It's efficient for your customers in your shop. And you have true data now where you can report on turnaround times. You can report on the standard deviations or the time it takes for a customer to complete a process. Because the web-to-print tool has a database engine under that, as a manager, you have the robust tool of data that you can use to analyze your business. And these online tools are ramps to diversify your service model. And we've had really great success with that. So you make print versatile and give yourself a future. So by defining that order route and that engine, you're going to keep on a strategic path and stay real relevant to communications and document services across your enterprise. So I hope the story of packets resonates. I hope I see some heads nodding in the background, and it may be a simple idea, but combining those documents together and putting them in a place that's easy to use through a web interface is really a key to unlocking some customer value. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Steve. Some great points there, and I hope some of you get some ideas from this. We've covered quite a bit of ground today, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to take some of the questions that people have been submitting here, and both of you, Steves, you can jump in when you have an answer. I thought one of these here from Jen Lowe was interesting and probably something that all of you are thinking about. If you're not the one with the authority to purchase and implement solutions such as this, then how would you both recommend that an in-plant build the best case possible to sell these solutions to those who do make the decisions? Anything you want to jump in and let them know?
From a university in-plant point of view, I would simply try to utilize people that have already gone through the process as building the case for justification. I think you have to learn what is the problem with the previous process and what will you gain. What will be made better by investing in something like this, and I think that's really the angle that you have to take on a campus. It's a difficult road on a campus to get a buy-in on a significant increase on a capital purchase, but if you can show from other universities' experiences and how this might work out with the customer base, I think you're well on your way to proving that.
I just might quickly add, we're all customer service driven, right? So take a look at the person with the authority, take a look at their customers, and see if you can work behind the scenes to get a pilot going with an audience that they respond to.
Mm-hmm. Good. Well, so we got a question from Robert S. at Bethel University up in Minnesota. I assume it's to Steve Diamond. Do you allow students to use your web to print for COD jobs?
Yes, students, anybody with any aspect of the MIT population that has an authenticated email address, which covers the students, the faculty, the staff, and the employees, has access to WebCRD.
Good. Have either of you thought about opening up your printing to commercial markets to offset some of your costs?
Here at the county, that's an interesting slope because we're ultimately serving the taxpayers. We don't take a real commercial focus. With the economy cratering across the country, there has been an effort to do shared services across different colleges or cities as cities and counties have contracted. So I find that having these data interchanges or web-to-print tools puts us in a good position for that. But as far as our own market here in Ventura County, I don't directly compete in the commercial space.
Okay.
At MIT, we do not restrict ourselves from taking in work from outside, but it always has to take a backseat to anything that is MIT related. So there are occasions and there are people that are on the outside that do take advantage of our services, and we're just not allowed to advertise that feature or to allow it to interfere with any of the college mission work that we're doing.
Steve Diamond, our buddy Paul Roberts up in New Hampshire, asked about the training you did. Do you do it with large groups or office by office, or do you offer documents to help them through? What's involved?
We did all of that. I mean, we had we're kind of a little bit unique in the sense that I'm fortunate to have a marketing manager in our department, and her role is to cover the whole gamut of communications with the MIT community. So that did involve large, classroom settings as well as targeted customers that we went and knew that they utilized our previous service extensively. So we went to them and got them in on the ground floor so that we began to build the community from that.
As for one area that's worked great for us is because a web-to-print tool, it's neat because both the production end and the customer end can share the same view, so it's very much like a WebEx. So what we do at the county is we have WebExes where we can just remotely share the same platform at the same time while we're putting in an order, and that no one has time to read the manual, right? So this on-the-fly training has been very effective for us to embed, a WebEx or a GoToMeeting type solution with the web-to-print platform.
Good. So my old friend Chuck Harding down in Texas asked the both of you, how long did it take you from start to implementation for this WebCRD software? Any estimates?
Well, it took us, the implementation was fairly significant as far as time, only because we had to get pricing into the system. We had to get the authentication part of it, which was probably the most complicated. But the use of it by the MIT community was almost immediate as far as getting the database of customers into the system right away, and it's grown since then. But the other things really were things that took almost a year to fully get straight.
If I could spin that question a little bit, one shortcoming or mistake that I've made, please don't make my mistakes, is we've had some great launches, but then you get so busy in your day-to-day work that you forget that time passes by. So we've had to remind ourselves that there's always customer and staff turnover, and we have to keep reintroducing our product, that there's a limited time for staff to absorb web technologies, and you have to continually schedule that marketing push. So we launched it, then it's working well, everyone's making money, and then we kind of forgot about the turnover. We do a little database match and see if our users are matched up, and we realize 20% of our user accounts have retired or left, and that's to schedule that continuous training is really important and a challenge.
Couldn't agree more.
Good. Well, I got a question from Tim Hendricks with the state of Oregon, where I will be tomorrow at this time. So, hey, Tim, make sure the weather's nice and cool out there, okay? Tim said, asked Steve Nellis before WebCRD, did you have another solution in place?
Sure. Over a decade ago, we knew we had to get more efficient with our own internal volume, so we adopted this, and I built an internal system, but then I quickly outstripped my both time and ability, and we realized that the commercial sector could just provide a better product. So once we kind of proved the concept, we switched gears some time ago.
Yeah, and I know Steve Diamond went into that a bit in his presentation. Saw an interesting one here from Mike George from Villanova down the street here. He asked, are departmental copiers viewed as competition and how do your prices compare? And if you see them as competition, what strategy do you use to get customers to funnel work to WebCRD?
Well, there's a whole webinar in itself.
Yeah.
As far as MIT, we manage the copier and printer program on campus. So as far as a competition, it simply moves the volumes around depending on the ups and downs of people acquiring devices in their departments. But I think it's for us, it's a good thing. And we try to get people to understand that certain types of jobs are not economical to be run on their own machines, and it's all about education continually.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Another question for Steve Diamond from Stephen Hood. Are print prices the same for every customer, students, faculty, other internal customers outside?
Yes. There are some minor services where pricing is different. Some of our newer electronic services seem to take some of the student budgets in mind and give them reduced pricing, but the print pricing is all the same.
I've asked our web print software vendor, which happens to be RSA, if they could build me a tool that asks my customer, how much money do you have before we print that? Okay, that was a joke. But we still, the web to print tool doesn't take away some customer service. For high volume jobs, we'll still talk and negotiate and try to build some things on tiers, especially when it comes to color. But the pricing's really neat though, because it's being driven from tables. So if you change a price within a table, it just expands globally across all of your products, and that's a great value when it comes to budgeting and rate development.
Sure. Getting started with web to print is confusing. Did the vendor make it easier for you to understand? People have told me that they just really don't get it all, and that's what's holding them back. I mean, what was the vendor's role in helping you to understand all this?
Well, in my case, all the vendors had a solution for web to print. It's the new way that vendors present their products is by presenting all their partners now. So every vendor had a version or an affiliation with a web-to-print process, and I had seen actually WebCRD at a number of opportunities before we chose the solution, and they were always part of that Konica Minolta process at that time.
Mm-hmm. I noticed, I jotted down from your presentation that 85% of your orders come through WebCRD. I was curious, how do the rest come?
Believe it or not, there are still some people that walk in with a document.
Yeah.
And some people that will actually bring down an electronic file on some kind of media or something like that.
Right. Let's see, what haven't we gotten to? I got to keep an eye on the time here. I mean, is this all? Is one of your goals to get closer to no-touch printing, where you're able to use the WebCRD to? Is that what you're trying to accomplish?
As for me, absolutely. If one of the barriers that we had was jobs just sitting on a print server, and we're all about process improvement, we eliminate the unnecessary. So in your print shop or any document services, a waste is transportation, waiting, and waiting and motion. So by embedding those documents, and if the printer is online with the paper and Plex and the resources it needs, the printer essentially will run uninterrupted, just load paper trays and go. And that enables our staff to just be very efficient, and that's one of the great things about this automation. I don't like setting up print properties via paper requisitions. It drives me nuts. So we automate that whenever possible.
Good. Well, we don't have too much time here, so I think I'd better wrap this up. On behalf of Implant Graphics and Rochester Software Associates, I want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. I wish we could keep on talking here, but time's about up. So be sure to check out our webinar page to get information on all of our archived and upcoming webinars. We'll try to answer some of the outstanding questions personally afterwards. And if you'd like to take a brief minute to fill out the brief feedback survey that will appear on your screen next, we'd be grateful. And this will help us influence future webinars. So thanks again, everyone out there, and I hope to see you at the next Implant Graphics webinar. Take care.